giants, two nations. One costs $13 billion. The other, half that price. One runs on nuclear fire that could power a city. The other, gas turbines you could find on a jetliner. One launches aircraft with invisible electromagnetic force. The other, a ski jump ramp invented in the 1970s. But here's the question that keeps admirals awake at night. Which one would you trust with your life when the missiles start flying? This is the story of HMS Queen Elizabeth and USS Gerald R. Ford, the battle of the supercarriers. And the answer might surprise you. The aircraft carrier, the ultimate symbol of naval power. For decades, America owned the seas. 11 supercarriers, nuclear giants that never need to refuel, floating cities that project power to every corner of the globe. But in 2017, something changed. Britain returned to the game. HMS Queen Elizabeth sailed into Portsmouth. Not nuclear, not American, but unmistakably powerful. That same year, USS Gerald R. Ford joined the fleet. The most expensive warship ever built. Revolutionary technology. A ship designed to dominate the 21st century. Two different philosophies. Two approaches to the same problem. Today, we find out which one wins. Before we start this deep dive, a quick favor. 99% of you watching aren't subscribed yet. If you love this kind of future military tech analysis, please take 1 second to hit that subscribe button now. It really helps the channel grow. Let's start with size. USS Gerald R. Ford is a monster. 100,000 tons of American steel, over 1,000 feet long, 4,500 sailors, the largest warship ever built. HMS Queen Elizabeth, smaller, 80,000 tons, just under 1,000 feet, fewer than 700 crew. But size isn't everything. The Ford runs on 2 nuclear reactors, the A-1B. Each one generates 700 megawatts of thermal power, enough electricity to power 300,000 homes. The ship can sail for 25 years without refueling. Unlimited range, unlimited endurance. Queen Elizabeth, gas turbines, and diesel generators. The Rolls-Royce MT-30, the same engine that powers Boeing's Dreamliner. 110 megawatts total, enough power to run the ship, and maybe, just maybe, enough for something more. The Ford's nuclear reactors sit deep in the hull, concentrated, powerful, but if they're damaged, the ship dies. Queen Elizabeth's power spread throughout the vessel. Forward engines, aft engines, diesels scattered in between. Hit one, the others keep running. Lose the gas turbines, the diesels take over. It's the difference between a fortress and a spider web. One depends on strength, the other, survival. Now let's talk money. USS Gerald R. Ford cost $13 billion. Let that sink in. $13 billion. The most expensive warship in history, more than some countries spend on their entire military in a decade. HMS Queen Elizabeth, £6 billion for 2 ships. That's about $4 billion each, less than a third of the Ford's price tag. But you get what you pay for, right? Well, maybe not. The Ford promised revolutionary technology, the future of naval warfare. But the future came with a cost. Delays, technical failures, systems that didn't work. A ship delivered incomplete because the Navy couldn't afford to wait any longer. Queen Elizabeth? Simpler. Proven systems. British pragmatism over American ambition. But the real question isn't about money. It's about what happens when the shooting starts. Here's where the battle gets fierce. How do you launch a jet off a carrier? For decades, America used steam catapults, massive pistons that hurl aircraft into the sky at 150 miles per hour. Violent, brutal, effective. The Ford, it ditched steam for something new. EMALS, the electromagnetic aircraft launch system. Invisible magnetic force accelerates the jet smoothly. Less stress on the airframe, less stress on the pilot. Adjustable power for different aircraft weights. It sounds perfect. It wasn't. EMALS failed again and again and again. By 2021, the system broke down once every 450 launches, 9 times worse than the Navy's target. Jets couldn't launch, missions scrubbed. A $13 billion ship, grounded by a catapult. The advanced arresting gear, same story. Failed once every 76 landings. Pilots couldn't trust it. And HMS Queen Elizabeth? A ski jump, a 12-degree ramp at the bow. The same technology Britain invented for the Harrier jump jet in the 70s. Low-tech, simple, but it works. The F-35B rolls down the deck, hits the ramp, and launches into the sky. No catapult, no electromagnetic wizardry. Just physics. Critics laughed. A ski jump in the 21st century? But here's what they missed. The ski jump gives the F-35B an upward trajectory. Safer launches, heavier weapons loads. No complex machinery to break down. And when the British pilots tested it, flawless. But the jets themselves tell a different story. The Ford will operate the F-35C, the carrier variant. Bigger fuel tanks, longer range, over 600 nautical miles combat radius, massive weapons payload, 10 tons in beast mode. The F-35B on Queen Elizabeth, shorter range, 450 nautical miles, smaller payload. It's a compromise. Vertical landing capability in exchange for raw power. On paper, the F-35C wins, no question. But here's the twist. Queen Elizabeth's F-35Bs have already seen combat. June 2021. Strikes against ISIS in Iraq and Syria. Real missions, real targets, real results. The Ford, it finally completed its first full deployment in 2024. 8 months at sea, 10,000 sorties, 0 catastrophic failures. EMALS finally worked. But it took 7 years to get there. Now let's talk about something both navies don't want you to hear. Aircraft carriers are sitting ducks. China has the DF-21D, the carrier killer, a ballistic missile that can hit a moving ship from 1,000 miles away. Russia has Kaliber cruise missiles, supersonic, sea-skimming, nearly impossible to intercept, and hypersonic weapons, Mach 5, Mach 6, unpredictable flight paths. No defense system can stop them. Both the Ford and Queen Elizabeth carry Phalanx CIWS close-in weapon systems, Gatling guns that fire thousands of rounds per minute. Effective range, 1 to 5 miles. A hypersonic missile gives you seconds to react, not minutes, seconds. So how do they survive? The Ford relies on its escorts, destroyers and cruisers with Aegis radar, layers of defense. Shoot down the missile before it gets close. But if one gets through, the Ford's nuclear reactors are concentrated deep in the hull. Hit them, and it's over. Queen Elizabeth, different strategy. 3 independent citadels. Separate power, separate fire suppression, separate life support. Hit one section, the other 2 keep fighting. Forward engines destroyed, the aft engines take over. Both gas turbines down, 4 diesel generators keep the ship moving. It's not invincible, but it's resilient. The British built a ship that can take a punch and keep sailing. Here's something no one talks about. HMS Queen Elizabeth produces 540 tons of fresh water every day. Reverse osmosis plants, the most advanced system ever put on a warship. Why does that matter? 9-month deployments without resupply. Disaster relief operations. Humanitarian missions. The ship can provide clean drinking water to coastal cities hit by hurricanes or earthquakes. It's not sexy, it's not cinematic, but it's the kind of quiet power that wins hearts and minds. Here's where everything changes. Britain just announced something radical. A hybrid carrier air wing. Not just F-35Bs. Autonomous drones. Expendable missiles launched from the flight deck. Long-range precision strikes. They're turning Queen Elizabeth into a floating missile battery. Think about it. You don't need a pilot. You don't need expensive jets. You launch cheap, deadly, one-way weapons from the deck and saturate the enemy with firepower. If this works, it changes everything. The debate between EMALS and ski jumps becomes irrelevant. The carrier isn't an aviation platform anymore. It's a command center for distributed warfare. America is watching closely. Let's go back to real-world performance. Queen Elizabeth deployed in 2021. The carrier strike group sailed across the Mediterranean, through the Suez Canal, into the Indian Ocean, and all the way to the South China Sea. 40 countries. Exercises with France, India, Singapore. Combat strikes in Iraq. Intercepting Russian aircraft in the eastern Mediterranean, all with a ski jump ramp and gas turbines. The Ford, 8 months at sea in 2023. NATO exercises in the Arctic, deployed to the eastern Mediterranean when war broke out between Israel and Hamas. A visible deterrent, American power on display. But here's the kicker. When HMS Queen Elizabeth broke down in 2024 with propeller shaft issues, HMS Prince of Wales, her sister ship, went from maintenance to deployment ready in 8 days. 8 days. The Royal Navy proved they could surge a super carrier faster than most countries can mobilize a battalion. So which carrier is superior? The answer is neither, and both. USS Gerald R. Ford is the most powerful warship ever built. Unlimited endurance, massive striking power. The F-35C will give it unmatched reach. 300 megawatts of electrical power means it can field directed energy weapons, lasers, railguns. The future, but it cost $13 billion. It took 7 years to become fully operational, and if a hypersonic missile gets through, that concentrated nuclear power becomes a liability. HMS Queen Elizabeth is smaller, simpler, cheaper, but it's ready right now. It's been to war, it's flexible, survivable, and if Britain's hybrid air wing concept works, it might redefine what a carrier even is. The Ford represents American confidence, technological supremacy, the willingness to bet everything on innovation. Queen Elizabeth represents British pragmatism, doing more with less, building a ship that adapts and survives. In a fight, the Ford probably wins. Raw power, better aircraft, more of everything. But in the real world, world, wars aren't fought in a vacuum. They're fought with logistics, politics, maintenance schedules, budget constraints, and sometimes the ship that shows up is better than the ship that's still in port getting repaired. The aircraft carrier is dying. We've heard that for decades. Too vulnerable, too expensive, too easy to sink, and yet they're still here because carriers aren't just weapons. They're symbols, presence, a flag on the horizon that says, we're here and we're not leaving. HMS Queen Elizabeth and USS Gerald R. Ford are more than ships. They're statements of national will. Britain, reclaiming its place on the world stage. America, maintaining dominance through sheer technological force. The seas are contested now. China builds carriers. Russia dreams of them. The age of unchallenged American naval power is over. But as long as carriers sail, two truths remain. Power isn't just about size. It's about will. And superiority isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the courage of the sailors who take these ships into harm's way. Because whether it's the Ford or the Queen Elizabeth, the real strength isn't in the steel. It's in the hearts of those who serve. And that brings us to the end of this massive supercarrier showdown. It's genuinely fascinating to see how the UK and the US approached the challenge of modern naval air power, one with a focus on nuclear muscle, the other on smart, flexible design. Now here's the most important question. After seeing all the specs, the air wings, and the cost, if you were running the Navy, which one would you pick and why? Seriously, let me know in the comments below. I want to jump in and hear your reasoning. Also, if you loved this deep dive, you are going to absolutely flip for our analysis of the USS Ford versus China's new carrier, the Fujian. Click that video you see on your screen now to keep the comparison going. As always, thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next video.